We're going to go ahead and let Kenzie from the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association go ahead and take it off. And then we'll get going. So Kenzie, you can go ahead and get rolling.
Hi, everyone. This is Kenzie. I'm the membership coordinator for the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association. If you don't know what we are the largest cannabis trade association in the Midwest, as well as the state of Michigan. We have over 400 members, and Thrive Pop is one of our members. Part of our member benefits is that we try to help our members expose themselves and do things like this webinar, which is why I'm here. So if you guys want to go ahead, I think we're good.
Awesome. Cool. And I'll hand it off to Olivia to get started and introduce Thrive Pop a little bit.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so obviously, if you're here, you know that we are Thrive Pop. We are here to help cannabis companies grow. We are here to help develop and implement marketing strategies and increase their digital exposure. Down here, you can see our CEO and our vice president, our owners of Thrive Pop. And we are really just excited to get this going and to give you guys these 7 hacks today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Lindsay already kind of gave a brief description of what she does here, but Lindsay is our senior creative content specialist at Thrive Pop. We are based in West Michigan, and Lindsay pretty much helps us with all of our cannabis businesses that we work for, whether that is working with podcasts, webinars, blogs, and pretty much every social media platform that we have. So she is well versed in all of that. So today she's going to be giving you guys some hacks and some really cool tips. And yeah, go ahead and take us away, Lindsay.
Sweet. Thank you, Olivia. Yes, we'll get into it. So kind of like Olivia said, I have a lot of experience working with several cannabis clients across the US, implementing a lot of different marketing strategies, social media, ads, everything, across the board. And I totally understand how tough marketing cannabis is. Until things are federally legal, there's a lot of advertising tactics that are sort of up in the air. There's things you can try. You run the risk of getting shut down. There's some traditional advertising options. And I know obviously Michigan has a huge recreational market. So, exploring those avenues for recreational is different than, what it might be in another state. And so just working in the cannabis industry is tough in and of itself, let alone also trying to advertise and grow your business when their avenues seem limited somehow. So I'm kind of here today to give you some tips, and I'm going to come at you guys too with some like statistics and some hard-hitting facts about marketing in general, as well as some things that maybe there might be included like some more basic formulas. However, I want to give you guys some tips in terms of, calculating your ROI, your cost per acquisition, and all that stuff that you might not know about in terms of how that relates to the cannabis industry. So we will get going. Kind of proof is in the pudding. Obviously, the cannabis market continues to grow. We're going to be referencing a lot of data here, as well as a recent industry report from the Cannabis Marketing Association, which is another great resource. Their committee, I serve on their committee, help with cannabis businesses also grow, provide them resources for helping grow their business, especially for those who might be in a position where they're struggling financially. But yeah, we'll share some interesting data here. This was in that report that I stated, and it says, if marketing is your core competency, what is your focus? So in terms of digital marketing, where are cannabis marketers and people who work in the cannabis industry putting a lot of their energy and focus? A lot of it's brand awareness, you see, and shortly after it's marketing strategy, content marketing, and just general digital advertising. You see email marketing and social media is up there as well. Interesting stats show that, obviously print advertising is quite low on that list, as well as, not doing a lot of influencer marketing, the industry is in general. So that's pretty interesting. And I actually have something in regards to that influencer marketing side later on in the presentation. But a lot of people who work in cannabis marketing say that they do it all. They do everything. So I thought that was an interesting statistic, especially for those who are on the webinar. I'd actually be interested to see if you guys have anywhere you really, really focus. It'd be cool if you commented that in the chat box of where you guys like to market digitally. But And this was an interesting stat as well. So what were your top 3 digital marketing challenges for 2021? A lot of cannabis companies said that there were budget constraints. Obvious, we're in a recession. There's a lot of challenges for the market right now, and especially dealing with the ever-changing, political climate. It's pretty hot, pretty rough, pretty hard. Defining organizational risk was an interesting one. There's a lot of staffing constraints, obviously with COVID and everything that changed the workforce in general. Regulations, also having issues with creating a clear strategy and understanding how to really measure their ROI. That was a lot of digital marketing challenges from the statistical report. So that was quite interesting as well. But prefacing those things, obviously you guys are on here because you know how crazy the cannabis market is. Let's get into some hacks and some strategies that we like to follow at Thrive Pop in terms of when we're talking to new clients or any kind of cannabis businesses in general, who we want to talk to and who we want to, what kind of direction we'd like to steer them in terms of what things they should consider when they're getting into their marketing strategy. So we'll talk to the first hack, which is a big one. This doesn't just apply to marketing in general, this applies to the sales process, but aligning and marrying your sales and marketing departments is really essential. Kind of leaning back into that graph about how a lot of employee restraints kind of stop businesses from marketing or stop them from growing, especially in cannabis, and how those align, especially with your bud tenders in terms of your sales. And I actually saw a recent industry report too that had mentioned that a lot of bud tenders are seen as consultants, or they view themselves as consultants, and how that aligns with your marketing strategy is quite interesting. So, 56% of aligned companies achieve their revenue goals. So an additional 19% managed to beat their targets. So that's kind of just proof that when you have those two married together, it pushes that overarching strategy forward. And businesses with aligned sales and marketing teams experience 36 higher customer retention. So everyone being on the same page means better things for your company, more revenue, increased brand consistency and brand loyalty, especially if you're on that cannabis dispensary side of things when you're dealing with a lot of consulting and content. So, yes. Hack number 2, how to create a marketing persona. So when you are marketing to your audience, and a lot of you out there, I'm sure, have an idea in your mind as to who that person is. Who are you selling to? What does that person look like? What are their interests? What are they needing? If you possibly work in the recreational or the medicinal side of cannabis, why are they buying this product? What is the purpose of the specific strain for them and their lifestyle? This hack is essential to create that marketing persona and outline those for your company. Because once you have those outlined, it really sets the stage for how you gear your other marketing tactics. So we always talk when we talk to new clients, and we're kind of get started with the new process of developing a marketing plan. Before we can really hammer in those tactics and you can get started with implementing things, you have to understand what that marketing persona looks like and who you're selling to. So asking yourself those questions of what your ideal customer looks like, what would lead them to want to buy? So what is that push or that need that you're fulfilling for them? What does that buying process look like? Are they top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel? We have a graphic on somewhere, I believe it's in a few of our blogs on our website, and it's also on our social media, but kind of talk about what that buyer is perceiving things at each stage of that marketing funnel, and how you bring them to the bottom of the funnel to sell. Obviously, depending on what industry you're in within cannabis, that marketing funnel is going to change, and it's going to depending on, how fast that persona moves through their buying process. But understanding that persona then leads you to understand their buying cycle. And how can you get your brand in front of them? Understanding who you're selling to means where to put your advertising. So, if you're selling to other business professionals, if you're on the B2B side of things, you might want to focus on LinkedIn. If you are doing educational content and selling, like blogs or doing different things like that, you might want to advertise not only on LinkedIn, but doing things on YouTube and doing a lot of video content. And so understanding that marketing persona is going to be really essential to executing your other hacks moving forward. So this was an interesting statistic. So behaviorally targeted ads are twice as effective as non-targeted ads. So that just leads back into that creating that persona and that importance. Understanding what people's behaviors are really answers to the ROI and makes you have a higher ROI because you're really targeting your correct audience. So we have also seen companies, not just in cannabis, that will just put advertisements out there wherever without considering who they're selling to and that marketing avenue. So aligning that first is going to be really essential to your marketing tactics being effective. So I'm going to hack number 3. Establishing your marketing roadmap checklist. So once you have that persona created and you're figuring out what tactics you have to do moving forward, this is when you outline it in your marketing roadmap. So this is the point where you sit down, whether you're doing all your marketing, whether you sit down with your agency, you are sitting with your boss, you're the owner of the company, and you're establishing goals and benchmarks and basically SMART goals. So having a clear starting point, start date of when you want to implement these marketing tactics, know your waymakers, your project milestones. So, obviously within these marketing campaigns, there's specific milestones you want to hit. Typically, there's actually more than one, not just hitting, we want to reach 10,000 followers and that's it. It's really effective to set smaller goals throughout the way, to be showing consistent growth in your marketing journey. But it also is quite encouraging. And we've seen people who set smaller goals throughout actually achieve their bigger goal sooner. So, and then, knowing that destination and your deadline. So that is all. You'd be really shocked to find out how many companies kind of just implement a campaign without any, idea when it ends, any kind of goals they're setting before they go ahead and they get out there. I like the quote at the bottom that says, to reach your destination, you need a direction. So, aligning that clear direction in your marketing roadmap is going to be essential to reaching those goals. So, and this was also a very interesting statistic in regards to that. So 92% of leading marketers believe using first-party data to continuously build an understanding of what people want is critical to growth. So when you align your data with your marketing roadmap, that is when you see the best results. So, and that's why it's important to set those project benchmarks, because that's how you measure results. And in the long run as well, speaking to an overarching marketing plan, how aligning those goals and whether or not you're reaching them allows you to save money in the future in terms of getting rid of tactics that don't serve your employees' time well and don't serve your company's money time well. So yes. Hack number 4, how to calculate a marketing budget. This might seem kind of high level. However, I wanted to give you guys a little bit extra in terms of how to calculate these things. It's something we often forget. I think as marketers, we kind of, come up with a budget in terms of, we have X amount to spend this month and let's see what we can do with it. Sometimes we get caught in the weeds like that. However, the importance of actually taking the time to use those formulas that you learned, if you went to, marketing school, or if you want, wherever you learned early on in the job about implementing these formulas, circling back to that, it really works. So B2B companies should spend at least 2 to 5% of their revenue on marketing, while B2C companies often spend a little bit more, and they spend around 5 to 10%. So, excuse me. That is just dependent on, once again, who you're selling to, what your revenue looks like. However, that is how much you should be spending on marketing regardless, especially if you want to grow in a economy where there is a recession and everything happening. Marketing is very important. Staying in front of your customers is very important. And I actually would be curious to see in the comments as well, but we've seen a lot of our clients experience a lot of growth during this time. So we know as the industry too, like every other industry, there's been some struggles, but we're seeing a lot of these clients that do spend a little bit more on marketing are still seeing results even during this recession. So especially in a Michigan market, it is different to how we have an extremely high, recreational market and everything like that. So pretty straightforward formula. Once again, you guys will get this presentation when you're finished with this webinar as well. So we'll have, you'll be able to check back in on all these hacks and everything, and we'll put it up on our YouTube. So no need to write it down, but something to point out is, it's that typical ROI equation. However, something to note, if your sales, like for an example, if your sales grew by $1,000 and the campaign costs 100, simple ROI is 900. So that is like a quick, I always remember that is like when I'm trying to, because we're all marketers here and like math is hard. I myself, bad at math. So just remembering this formula and that simple, like I always remember just the $1,000 example, that is super quick for me to think in terms of what I'm working with the client and equating that in a percentage. So just remember that. And I think you'll be good, especially if you're not into the math stuff like I am. So cool. And then we're going to take like a little mid pause here, and I'll let Michigan Industry Cannabis Association go ahead and kind of give a little plug for what you guys got going on before we get into the last half of the hacks. So Kenzie, you can take it away.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Mhm.
So like I said, the MICIA is the largest cannabis trade association in the Midwest. We do have over 400 members right now. Over 250 of those members are licensed operators in the state. So that's any license, micro business, grow, retail, processing. And our goal for our licensees is to be the leading voice for Michigan's legal cannabis businesses. We advocate for a responsible and successful medical and adult use cannabis industry through promoting sensible laws and regulations, and then also including industry best practices among members. My position as member coordinator is I obviously go and find us new members. We're always accepting new members. Outside of our licensees, we also take our ancillary companies. So that could be marketing, insurance of any kind, software, that kind of thing. And our goal for our ancillary companies is to get them into contact with licensees, whether that's you're trying to supply grow lights, you're trying to supply media creation, all of those sorts of things. We do have a lot of benefits involved with membership. We offer multiple different membership levels depending on what you are looking for. We like to say that we're a good old boys club. So what you put in is what you're going to get out. We offer a ton of benefits to try and help you expose your brand, make new connections, and do the best that you can in the industry. Some of those member benefits include our podcast. We have a weekly podcast that we promote on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Facebook, LinkedIn. We also have a quarterly magazine that we send out through our Detroit. All of our members receive a 20% discount in that magazine. And then also our licensees could be featured within the stories. And then we also have a few other small things like a member directory. All of our members have access to our member directory, which lists all of our current members. And then social media, we try to promote anything that our members have going on our social media, as well as sharing their social media as well. We are always looking for new members. We never turn anybody away. So if you're interested, feel free to check out our website. You can inquire through there or just join through our landing page as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kenzie. And we can attest to it for IvePop. We've been working with you guys and collaborating with you guys on a lot of different stuff, and it's always been a blast. And you've always been able to provide resources for us as well as for a lot of our clients. So thank you. And they also threw a pretty bomb holiday party last year. Just saying. I believe it was in Lansing, I think. Yeah. So that was a blast. Totally recommend you guys join too, because you could mingle at that party and it's awesome.
Sorry to interrupt you, Lindsay. This year, our holiday gala, that's another major benefit, is our networking events. We have 4 major events that we hold each year. They're all catered towards networking, and our holiday party this year will be held at the MGM Grand in Detroit.
Nice. Awesome. We'll be there. Sweet. And then also too, just because I'm before I get into the next hack, I know a lot of people on here are from Michigan and are Michigan businesses. So we're located in Muskegon, Michigan. We're right by the lake. So we'd love to have people comment in the Zoom comments where you guys are located at in Michigan. So, all right. On to more hacks. So another pretty simple marketing formula, however, trying to give you a little bit more in terms of how to implement it and something you might not know about it. So how to calculate customer acquisition costs. Once again, similar with the marketing ROI, you'd be surprised at how many people don't measure these costs either at the beginning or the end of a marketing project. And that customer acquisition cost includes your salary, your overhead, your paid ads, and your tools divided by the number of customers you got. So let's say you're running an email marketing campaign. you're obviously accounting for the cost of the person who put together the campaign. Your marketing campaign might be a little bit different in terms of calculating overhead, but your paid ads, let's say you're doing $400 in a Google ad, or you're doing a LinkedIn ad, which provides you a little bit more flexibility in terms of marketing cannabis. And then any kind of tools you're using, let's say you're paying for an email marketing platform, you're going to want to count the cost of that included into how many people you got for it. So that is how you calculate that. However, just a little bit of a tidbit in terms of calculating that. Best practices for including your costs in your customer acquisitions do not include project, engineering, support, any of that. So that's all included in your R&D costs, and they don't include that churn, your company churn of any kind. Obviously, still we're in a recession. There is some company churn. We've seen a lot of clients having a lot of company churn. You don't include any of that within your customer acquisition costs, because none of that relates directly to the campaign. Those costs are attributed elsewhere and should not be added to the customer acquisition costs. So a little pop tip for you. This is one of my favorite hacks. And because I do a lot of copywriting and social media, repurposing content. Repurposing, especially, I'm sure a lot of you are like a one-person team, having to do marketing by yourself, or you got thrown into a position. We talk with a lot of people who are like, I started to do this and then marketing got added to my plate, and now I'm like uber busy and I don't have time to market like how I want to. Repurposing your content is going to be king. So one of my favorite ways, one of the most effective ways we've seen in terms of employee time, in terms of creativity, ways this content can be used, writing a blog that's at least 1,000 words, that relates to your business, that serves a purpose for your marketing persona is essential. So starting with that provides you the ability to use that blog and use it in so many different ways. So once that blog is written and approved by your team, or however that process works for you, that is a great pillar, a center of content for you, where you can now take that blog and take a social media post and drop back to that blog. You can now take an email campaign and you can drop back to that blog. You could turn that into an ebook, which is a special designed like pamphlet that you could have for a download on your website. You can have flyers. You can make flyers out of the content in that blog. Now, granted, blogs do take a decent amount of time to write initially. However, I totally recommend taking that 5 to 6 hours. Sometimes it can take up to 10. Just getting that blog done. Once you got that done, you could pull content from social media posts for weeks. It's insane. And we've seen not only less stress on our clients for using that method, it also is one of the best ways to serve your marketing persona. So providing content, whether it's educational, whether it is content that is to delight your audience, of who you're gearing this content towards, it serves your audience as well. So it's a great thing. It's a great way to repurpose your content. Repurposing your content is going to be your best friend if you're working in marketing, because you don't have time, especially considering a lot of marketing people are wearing many hats. So taking that time to write that blog is going to be great. Potentially my favorite hack, because I enjoy writing the blogs, but and don't forget, don't lose sight of your content strategy. So like, as I said, obviously that blog isn't just going to be written about nothing. It's going to relate back to your marketing persona. And it's also going to align back to that marketing roadmap and your overarching marketing plan. So determining, the frequency of how often you can write blogs, as well as how you want to push that content out. Just make sure it continues to align with your content strategy and your overarching marketing plan. Does it really make sense for you to discuss holiday deals and best ways to gift different, cannabis strains to different people in July? Maybe it does if you're doing a Christmas in July thing, but typically not, So making sure it still aligns with what you got going on in your marketing plan, and don't lose sight of that content strategy that you have going as well. So number 7, how to increase open rates. So if you are in cannabis and you do a lot of email marketing, I'm sure you understand the importance of your subject line. There's been a lot of emerging trends that we have seen statistic-wise and data-wise on our end of what we are seeing in both the meta description, the subject line, and the email pre-headers. So one of the big things we have seen is that people who put emojis in their subject lines increases that open rate for B2C by 19% and B2B by 15%. So can be the same exact subject line, but strategic emoji placement has increased those open rates dramatically. So if you're doing a lot of email marketing, make sure you're throwing emojis in that pre-header, because that is likely to increase your open rates dramatically, as well as brackets. So brackets have seen a major increase in people opening those emails. For consumers, B2C, it's 24%. And for businesses, it's actually higher. It's 28%. So it's kind of interesting that the marketing content sent to consumers, the more lighthearted emojis generally tend to up that open rate, while talking to other businesses, emphasizing specific words with brackets increases those open rates. So an interesting contrast too, and that does play into that marketing persona. Another pop tip too, while you are creating those emails, your logo and your email creative will get about 20% of the clicks that you receive. So make sure that offer's not just going to your homepage or anywhere. Make sure it's going to a specific landing page that you want people to take action at. So I myself am guilty of this, of when I open an email, I just start clicking whatever. I'm just mindlessly clicking. I've done that on websites too, where you're just clicking around, doing whatever. People do that in emails. So making sure that your email, when you make it, anywhere that someone can click and you can add a link, make sure it's going to the right destination and make sure you're capturing people. So that is an easy hack. Right in your logo, add in a landing page that you want people to go to get that offer in. So yeah. But we wanted to thank you guys for joining us today. We just wanted to provide, these easy hacks that you can use and take with you. These will also be sent out in an email after, so you guys will get all these tips and everything. But we also want to offer all you guys that are on the webinar a marketing facelift. So if you take out your phone and you scan that QR code on your screen, otherwise, if you are watching this on your phone, otherwise you could too. If you're watching on your phone, we'll go ahead and send the email recap. Otherwise, check the chat box. And my coworker Olivia actually just pasted the landing page in there as well. What you'll do is you'll go to that landing page and then you will enter to win a marketing facelift. So you can actually send us marketing materials that you would want redesigned. It could be a social media post. It could be, a flyer. It could be a graphic design. It could be a marketing, help with a marketing plan that you've created and you need a marketing facelift. We're going to redesign it for you for free. Just to give you guys a direction and help with, especially as we're going into the end of the year too, give you some marketing direction and, give you a chance to work with us. So that is free. Once again, you can go ahead and scan that QR code, check the chat box on Zoom here, and the link is there as well. But we're choosing 3 winners. So go ahead and put your info in the form right there, and we'll be in contact with you right away. Once again, we'll also send this link to in the email post-webinar. But yeah, and you get to choose from one of those following: potential postcard, social media, email marketing, flyer, redesign, what have you. You send it, we'll redesign it for you. So that kind of brings me to the end here. Thank you for having us, and I'm here to answer all of your guys' questions. To preface too, I've worked with a lot of companies in not only on the cannabis dispensary side, but I've worked with a lot of manufacturing as well as grow. So I'm pretty well versed in grow operations as well as the manufacturing side for vertical farming, for grow lights, whole shebang. So let's check some questions here. Where do you do most of your cannabis marketing? We have clients all over the world, really. A lot of our clients are primarily on the West Coast. So we do a lot of business on the West Coast. We actually also do a lot of business on the East Coast. It's kind of on either side of the country. But we do have quite a few clients here in Michigan as well. Pip Horticulture actually is located in Grand Rapids, in Walker, more specifically, I believe. And that is one of our clients that we've been working with for quite a long time. but they are located in Michigan. But yeah, we're spread all over the world. We have clients in New Mexico and Vegas, California, Connecticut. Yeah, so here, there, and everywhere. It says, I know you mentioned subject lines and how important they are. My question is, how many emails should I be sending? That depends on your type of business. So whether or not you are B2B or B2C, that email frequency might change. You know, if you are doing a lot of consumer marketing, you might have an increased email frequency. Jay from World Data is one of the biggest people in terms of like email marketing data. And he recommends that you send, I believe it's 5 or 6 emails a week. It's a little high. However, we've seen the effectiveness of the increased frequency of emails work very well for our clients. So, and a lot of people have said, you know, wouldn't that increase, you know, spams or unsubscribes? As long as that content is meaningful to your marketing persona, it won't do anything. And if anything, it actually will engage them more, and you have a higher chance of retaining clients and potential customers the more you send them emails. And those people who unsubscribe probably weren't uber brand loyal to begin with. So we recommend, you know, that will be different for each industry. We could potentially give you, if you message us after the webinar as well, we can give you a better idea as to what you're looking for. And tell you, you know, give you a better idea for email marketing plan. But yeah. What is your #1 social media tip for cannabis companies? So, as you guys know, Instagram and Facebook, it is hard to market your cannabis business on there because it does seem quite random. You know, half the time you posting cannabis imagery is totally okay. Half the time you post one picture and then all of a sudden your account's banned, or you say, you know, switch up the verbiage incorrectly and it just all of a sudden you can't log into your Instagram the next day. And it is quite unfair too, because it seems to affect certain accounts and other accounts don't get affected by it. And some accounts are even verified, you know, it really just depends. My big thing would be to post engaging content in terms of making sure you're posting reels, posting things in your story, but also posing content that you want your audience to interact with, you know, posing questions, asking them, what do they want to see from your company? Doing engaging polls or stories, you know, anything that uses those widgets inside the stories. But my #1 tip would be to engage, you know, really get to know your audience. Aside from Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn has been huge, especially for a lot of my cannabis clients that are B2B. LinkedIn has provided a safe space for cannabis, I want to say. Like, you can actively search cannabis hashtags on there. There's a lot of cannabis cultivation groups and manufacturing groups as well that don't ever face that ban or, you know, that slap on the wrist from Meta, you know, from Mark Zuckerberg from, you know, posting content like that. So LinkedIn has provided a really safe space. So I definitely recommend to, if you're not already on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Same thing with Twitter. Get on Twitter. That would be the spot to be. So let's see if we have any other questions. Oh, okay. You talk about blog content, but I have no idea what to write about, LOL. Oh, yeah, that's hard. It is hard. Working on the content creation side, it can be difficult to come up with blog content with educational content that you want to discuss with your audience. I like to think about not necessarily my title. I think a lot of people might get hung up on, well, what's my blog title, you know, before I could even write it. I almost like to just get into the writing to begin with and just write about what I want to talk about for, you know, my company. A lot of clients too, what we'll do is when we're writing, we do a lot of blog writing for our clients, is we kind of just establish an outline of, we want to really talk about X product or X service we have. We want to mention these keywords or these type of, you know, SEO related items. And we kind of write the bones of the content from there. And then it starts to flow. And then at the end, go through and title that blog. I know it can seem kind of backwards. Back when I have done a lot of freelance writing, and I've been a professional writer for a long time. I often would write that title last, and I have found it is very helpful because I myself get very hung up on like what I expect a blog to be based on what I said that title would be. So I almost recommend kind of writing what you think you want to write about that fits your marketing persona. You build those bones, and then you kind of go back to that title, retitle it, or add a title. And then that's when you're able to continue to fill in information as well into the blog. So, and we got another question. Also too, like if you guys ever have, want to brainstorm content, we do a free marketing brainstorming session as well. So you can contact us on our website or go to that landing page too in the chat. And you can mention that you want that as well. So let's see, when it comes to personas, I don't think that all of our potential clients fit into one persona. How many should I have? This also depends on your industry. So if you are a dispensary, for example, you may have many marketing personas. You can have people that are consuming cannabis for pain relief. You can have people who are consuming cannabis for fun, for recreational purposes. You can have people who are consuming it for anxiety. You can have people who are consuming it for sleep. There are a ton of different reasons you could be consuming cannabis. So those markets look very different depending on what that product is. So you could almost think too, if your marketing personas as your core products almost, and who you're selling to for those core products. So if you are a dispensary and you're selling to those, you have 5 core products that are establishing, serving 5 different markets, that might be where you start developing your marketing personas. So you have that person who needs pain relief, who needs to sleep, what does that person look like typically? And while those might vary, obviously, a huge array of people can consume cannabis. It is effective to consider what your core products are and then develop your marketing personas from there, because maybe you work in cannabis manufacturing and you sell one product, and that product is being sold to other cannabis CMOs or CFOs, and that's who you're targeting. So it really just depends on what your industry is. But yeah, I think that is the last question. Awesome. Well, I want to thank the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association for having us on today. Once again, guys, go and enter to win the marketing facelift. Awesome deal. It's worth over $5,000. Gives us a chance to elevate some of your current marketing materials, especially if you don't have time to do stuff right now, especially as we're nearing 2023 planning, which is ridiculous that I even am saying that right now. But go ahead and go to that landing page, and we're also going to be sending an email after the webinar as well with that offer. But we're going to be picking 3 winners, and we'll also be posting this recording later to our YouTube, as well as posting a recap and everything to our social media. So I encourage you to follow the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, as well as I think, Kenzie, you can kind of plug there in terms of other social channels you have.
Yes, we also have Apple and Spotify podcasts for our podcast. Our podcast, you can find it. It is the MICIA CannaCast.
Sweet. Awesome. And then for Thrive Pop, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, just search Thrive Pop. And yeah, go to our website, thrivepop.com. We have a lot of other free resources as well, and ebooks and content you guys can use to help you in your marketing planning. So I want to thank everyone for coming on today. I had some really awesome questions. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to message us or message the page directly, and we will go from there. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.